People who make money capitalizing on the features of their body. Have any of you ever had a close friend or anyone you normally interact with daily be a surprise customer? Viewers Edition. Story 1. I was a stripper in the 1980s and 1990s, from 18 to 36 years old. Family knew, friends knew, best friends came over while I was working all the time. Didn't drink on the job for the last 10 years, and didn't drink at all. Switched to 3 days a week when my daughter was born at 30 years old. Most of the girls didn't end up very well, but I'm still in touch with some of the bartenders and security. At least 3 of them are excellent friends. It was a crazy time, and because it was Los Angeles, I saw a lot of famous people, but a lot of us were treated like not much more than garbage sometimes. Also in those days, you didn't have lap dances. There was no contact at all between you and the customer. It was a Los Angeles County law at the time. When that old Motley Crue song Girls, Girls, Girls came out, friends of mine joked that I had worked in at least 3 of the places mentioned. No one who knows me now knows who I was then, or even suspects, except for the people who were there. The kids know, but that's just because I told them. Back in the day, though, we had very little respect, so you really had to be careful about who knew what you did for a living. Who would know that the 56-year-old quiet white woman who lives with cats was once a Sunset Strip stripper? Take a look around at your boomer relatives, kids. You never know. Story 2. Making whoopee is not the problem, but selling it to everyone is. I would never get behind this "it's just another job" mentality. Doing that stuff is for intimacy. It's the physical bond of relationships. Even scientific studies have proven that doing it leads to deep emotional attachments with partners. Selling and making it available to everyone makes you cheap. Don't speak like it's common sense to normalize this type of work, because it isn't. I'm not saying this work is for bad people or they should be disrespected, because I would never know their reasons for it. This is why I said what I said. This type of stuff should never be just another thing you do with everyone. I'm sure this mentality is common in places where hookup culture is normal, but even that is considered to be harmful for committed relationships. Not for everyone, of course, but for most. This is why for sane people everywhere else, this stuff is very private affair that we share with our partners. Attaching a price to it is attaching a price to yourself, which is quite low for a human being. Story 3. I can see where you are coming from, but also know that this perspective goes both ways. I'm pretty sure someone religious out there will look at your mindset the same way, that acts performed in the name of religion is not a big deal, but trading virginities with your childhood friends like their Pokemon cards is seen as obscene. Not to mention, this kind of mindset can be used to justify morally wrong acts such as pedophilia, necrophilia, bestiality, etc. I mean, why worry about necrophilia when an unalive body doesn't need to consent? Or beast with a pet if you're their owner anyhow? It's pretty much a situation of absolutes. If you're allowed to discard stigma about one thing, so can everyone else. I guess it's why some people are still cautious of keeping it in their pants, despite all this glorifying of it in the media. Story 4. The state I was living at, 14, 15 years old, allowed minors to drink, and basically anything else in the bars back when. This community also allowed strippers as well. One of the strippers, absolutely gorgeous. What I found out was her 15-year-old daughter stripping in the same bar, which was entirely legal in that state. Long story short, I dated her for a time. They were basically on tour in those days. I tell this story simply because I've never heard anyone who has a story like that. I took her riding, and we had fun. The mother was a lady. She was doing the best she could. The daughter was cool too. I never thought of them negatively, just a single mom trying to get by. Story 5. In my opinion, prostitution should be legal, but street solicitation shouldn't be, both to protect the workers and clients. Anyone over age should be able to charge for anything that would be legal if they did it for free, provided they have their taxes in order, either in their own homes or a licensed brothel. Any self-employed worker should operate under the same tax laws. Any worker working for a licensed brothel should gain the same benefits and safeguards as service industry employees. Story 6. A group of coworkers was in this brothel just across the street from our shipyard. They were chatting with the girls, and after that, they would go to the bathroom with one of them each. They tell me KB, about 60 years old, was looking intently at the girl in his lap when he said, "Where are you from?" "I'm from City." "When were you born?" "Year." "Do you know RS?" "She's my mom." My boss then says across the room, laughing, Beware, KB, she might be your daughter. To which KB answers, still with the half-naked girl in his lap, it is very possible. Story 7. I once read a fiction story on these girls that were sold to an asylum and forced into this line of work. One of the girls in the story was there for 7 years, ever since she was 16. Disturbed the crap out of me, even though it was fiction, and I cannot think of or look at any sort of strip club or anything without feeling really disturbed. I feel a little silly, but at the same time, I know that even though the story was fiction, the situation probably isn't 100% fiction. Story 8. I don't know, I think you're digging really deep on this for no reason. No normal person wants to see their family in this situation. His reaction, if anything, is to be expected. I'd be even more creeped out if he just started egging his niece on, rather than leaving. It's not putting other women down, it's just being shocked to see your family in such a setting and wishing you never saw it in the first place. Story 9. I think I said deep tissue massage, and you were probably thinking of a happy ending. Deep tissue tends to aim to hit the deeper layers of body muscles and start to look more like chiropractic adjustments, a legitimate medical procedure akin to stopping in at a tire shop to get your car's wheels rotated. Happy ending massages are the ones that aim to pleasure the clients in an 8 way. Story 10. Speaking from experience, massage therapy is a pretty sensual activity. It's normal to feel a little turned on sometimes. Just understand that it's a biological response on your part and not an investigation or invitation on the part of the therapist. It's actually super unethical for licensed massage therapists to engage in any kind of sensual activity with the clients, and if found out, they could lose their license. Story 11. I worked as a bouncer at a swingers club, off the books, at a regular house, long closed now. I had a young kid come to the door and insist his mom was there and could see her. Your mom isn't here, kid, and no, I won't let you go in and look. Well, he insisted a few more times, then gave up. Later, I was told that her kids knew what she did, and they knew she was here. Whoops. Story 12. Workers of the night doing it with their childhood friends is not that uncommon. I don't understand why this is such a mind-blowing thing for people. I have childhood friends that became workers of the night for a while, and I did it with them during that time, and we're still friends to this day, with them now being married mothers and everything. It's just life, dudes, not that crazy or rare. Story 13. Back in the early 2000s, my roommate went to a weekend-long party at a rental villa in the countryside for his best friend's birthday. They hired 2 call girls from a local newspaper and sisters. They turned out to be the birthday boy's younger cousins. No need to say he was the only one to not get any that weekend, and it happened a few weeks before Christmas to boot. Story 14. We got something like that too nearby in Portland. There are so few black people that they tend to avoid dating, as there's a very real chance they're related. But I imagine the numbers are regarding overall reported incidents, and there are still those that go unreported for one reason or another. Story 15. Not to mention, if you don't show up, it's really difficult to actually prosecute. Showing up demonstrates the serious intent necessary for the charge, with evidence. Likelihood aside, SWs need to meet a lot of standards for their personal safety. It's a huge concern, even to host safe spaces for SWs. A lot of security is a strict necessity. Story 16. I disagree with the comment saying that guys are complimented for having done the right thing. Yes, perhaps it can come across as not being the norm, but at the same time, if I compliment you on doing something well, you'd feel more compelled to do it again. It's basic pedagogy. On another note, Sweet Home Alabama. No, it doesn't go too far. It's just a meme. Stop being offended by it. Story 17. Me and a few of the guys from the shop went to a strip club in Minneapolis on amateur night and saw my sister and my brother's wife on stage together. My brother smacked the poop out of both of them after I told him what I saw. That stuff was the funniest visit I ever had with my bro. Story 18. For the massage therapist, don't be surprised if they move on from the hands and get one of the therapist's elbows involved if you've opted for deep tissue. Sometimes that's what's needed to get the massager's body weight into the work. Story 19. For those wondering how a brothel can get your information and do a background check, they can pretty easily ask the government and buy your data or buy it from organizations like Facebook. Story 20. I heard a story where a guy pretends to be on a business trip, books a hotel room, and hires an escort through an agency. She turns up and it's his daughter. Story 21. Hey man, some of these sleazy ones really know what they're doing when it comes to that. I've gone to a few on the West Coast just so they could hit the poop out of my back. It does wonders. Story 22. I love how giving someone an origami is literally taboo. Why do we deny ourselves the best feeling we can possibly feel and call it unethical? Story 23. Because short-term gratification can have long-term consequences. A lot of things that are morally wrong feel good in the short term, but not very good for society as a whole in the long term. In short, because it's what separates us from animals and allows civilized society to exist. Story 24. The idea that sleeping with people can be casual and without consequences, detached from the emotional element, is a deranged, thoroughly debunked belief in clinical psychology, because sensual immorality is a thing, because the objectification and sale of humans is problematic and detrimental for society as a whole. Story 25. A friend once went to a massage. The girl who serves him turns out to be his cousin. They haven't met since childhood. My friend still recognizes her, but she didn't recognize him. So he continued to receive his service and have a happy ending. Story 26. Oh wow, but to me that's able, since in the heat of the moment things can get hot or you let your guard down, even if it's a cousin. Story 27. I'm a guy and I loved when the guy in the video quoted that guys shouldn't get the hero treatment for just doing a normal and or the right thing, because it just helps perpetuate the idea that guys will do the wrong thing whenever given the chance. Story 28. One of my clients from when I was young is still my friend to this day. He helped me out a lot, brought some stability to my otherwise chaotic life. Story 29. I was homeless at 15. Meanwhile, you're probably still living in your parents' basement at 30. I wish I had that luxury. Good for you, honestly. Story 30. I don't feel sorry for you. Met plenty of people in terrible conditions. Never once did they have to sell their bodies. And no, I'm 22. While yes, I do live with my mother and pay rent, it's better that I'm the only man here and not some stranger. Story 31. I'm sure a sheltered boy gringo living with his mother knows all about the struggles of life. I don't need pity from people living in an alternate reality. Story 32. It's okay, you don't have to tell me. You have nothing to refute or say back. I'll be quiet now. Go ahead and cry about how you put a price tag on your body that anyone can pay. Story 33. No, actually, I'm going to come clean. I shouldn't be doing this. Jesus frowns upon me, so I'm going to stop. You can be saved and forgiven. Sorry I said anything. To be honest, I hope you find God. Story 34. You don't have a mansion. You live in your parents' house and listen to Andrew Tate all day, dreaming that you could be an alpha male like him. Story 35. We really shouldn't be talking about a guy being nice to his coworkers as if he has done something special or unique. Yes, let's not reinforce the positives done by men as somehow it's creepy, then go straight into talking about randos expecting things. Story 36. No, it really isn't the same thing. Swingers do not pay each other for doing it, nor do they pay the club for doing it. We provide a location, some snacks, and security. Everything else was consensual between whoever was involved. It isn't in any way, shape, or form prostitution. Story 37. Nah, I didn't forget. Sometimes stupid people need to get slapped upside the head on the remote possibility that it might jog some of the stupid loose. Story 38. Fun fact, Alabama isn't even the state with the highest amount of incest in the U.S. It's actually tied between my home state of Oregon and Washington. So the joke is both incredibly old and inaccurate. Story 39. It's more common in isolated mountain communities historically in general. Incestuous R is way more common than anyone would believe, however, and is a truly sad affair. Story 40. I don't remember when the whole Alabama incest thing was funny. You can tell the kind of humor someone has when that's their go-to joke. Story 41. Actually, in Vermont, a happy ending is 100% legal. There was a big case about it a few years ago. It only becomes illegal if something gets inserted. Story 42. I disagree on a cop being more likely to be screened for background info. They want to make it as easy as possible for people to request an escort and just show up. Once they have you, they can get info easily anyways. Story 43. Yeah, having information on someone isn't powerful. Using it and failing to do so, that gives you an advantage. Also isn't powerful, but using it in a way that does, and the person deserves to be ostracized, that is powerful. Story 44. Like cops are that good, it was on the husband's phone. Motel cameras only showed people walking up to the room area and one guy walking away. This was on one of those cheesy Red Rum mystery TV shows 15 years ago. Story 45. Maybe it's normal where you're from, but don't assume that's the case for everyone else. Not everyone eats bugs and weird stuff, yet in some places they do. Story 46. My first time at a strip club, I locked eyes with my niece. We just laughed and had a drink, then went on with the night. First and last time at a strip club for me. Story 47. This one is a real story. Guy hires a hitman to end the life of his cheating wife and the guy she's with. He goes to a hotel and calls an escort. His wife shows up as the escort. Hitman shoots and ends the life of them both. Story 49. The internet has many groups of users, just like YouTube or any other site. Expecting a hive mind like consistency throughout the whole site is like expecting a country to completely think the same. Unrealistic. Story 58. My main deal here is she probably dressed that way because she could only afford her work clothes, and she must have had some more mild dresses and stuff like that instead of just straight-up lingerie. Story 62. Friends, family, drunk mistake, teachers, off-duty police and doctors, church officials and staff. Try not to, and bikinis. Instead, I had to say no to a lot. Story 65. I definitely would have taken him up on that offer. I would have let him borrow my car for 24 hours. As long as he brought it back without a scratch, we could do this trade once a month. Story 67. If you're lucky enough to live nearby or within your city, there's some massage joints with happy endings, but safe stuff, from my experience. However, since I'm California, you'll be put in jail for 6 months if caught. Story 68. In those stories, men treat and refer to women as an object you can try and use. That's why strip clubs shouldn't be a thing. Also corn. That's how humanity messed up. Story 69. The guy that found his niece at a strip club, the other woman in there didn't bounce on his knees when they were 3. He wasn't their fun favorite uncle. He has an emotional connection to you. The other woman could care less about. That's why he was embarrassed. Story 70. Why would they not? I mean, you know the person, so not a new call. Should know what money you can get out of them, so not sure why it's an issue. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.